Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive with us.
That's right.
Today we're dissecting Marksans Pharma's Q2 FY25 financials.
Yep.
We've got their press release, of course,
Of course.
their detailed financial statements,
Uh-huh.
and a really fascinating investor presentation.
Yeah, those are great resources.
Yeah, so we're going to go beyond just the headlines and really see what we can learn about where Marksans is headed.
That's right. It's like we're financial detectives.
Ooh.
Using these clues, to figure out their strategy and what it all means for their future.
Awesome. Okay, so before we get lost in the numbers,
Right.
let's just take a step back for a second.
Yeah.
And just make sure everyone listening has the same picture of who Marksans Pharma is.
Good idea.
So they're a global pharmaceutical company.
Global. Yeah.
They're in both the over-the-counter space,
The OTC market.
OTC,
Yeah.
and the prescription or RX market.
So they're covering a lot of ground.
They are, and their footprint is really impressive.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So over 300 products,
Wow.
more than 1,500 different what they call SKUs, which are,
Variations of those products.
exactly.
Yeah.
And get this, they've got 4 manufacturing facilities and 4 R&D centers.
That's a lot of R&D.
It is, and all this is globally.
Wow.
They've got all the approvals from, the major regulatory bodies like the US FDA, UK MHRA.
They've got all their ducks in a row.
No, they're not playing around.
No, they're serious.
Okay, so they're big, but where do they really shine?
Oh, okay.
Well, their investor presentation highlights that in the UK.
Okay.
They're actually ranked among the top 5 Indian pharmaceutical firms by revenue.
Top 5. That's impressive.
It is.
Especially in a competitive market like the UK.
Yeah, and then in the US, which is, obviously a market we're all familiar with,
Yeah, huge market.
they're a leading player in the OTC market.
Wow, so they're really making their mark.
They are.
Yeah,
So that kind of sets the stage right
it does.
for when we start looking at these Q2 FY25 numbers.
Yeah.
The theme is growth. Growth. That's the big story here.
Yeah, so let's just get those headline numbers out of the way.
Okay.
From the press release and the financial statement.
The official
The
numbers.
official, yeah.
Wait on us.
So consolidated revenue up a whopping 20.8% year on year.
Whoa, that's a big jump.
It is, and that brings it to a total of 641.9 crores.
641.9 crores.
Or
Now, I know some of our listeners might not be familiar with that term.
a big number.
It is 1 crore is equal to 10 million.
Yeah, so we're talking big money here.
Big money, big growth. We like to see it.
We do okay, and it's not just revenue that's growing.
Oh, there's more.
There's more so EBITDA.
EBITDA.
Now, for those who aren't financial experts,
Yeah, let's break it down.
that's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
That's a mouthful.
It is. So basically, it's just a way to look at like the core earnings of the business.
The cash flow from the operation.
Yeah, exactly.
Before all the accounting stuff.
Yeah, so EBITDA up 19.1%.
Still a very healthy growth.
Very healthy to 135.7 crores. Okay, so they're profitable.
And then PPIT.
Yeah.
Which is profit after tax.
The bottom line.
The bottom line,
Right.
what's left over for the company after you pay everyone and pay the government.
Exactly.
Up 16.6%
So they're making money.
to 97.8 crores.
Okay, so across the board, we're seeing growth.
Yes.
Revenue profitability. It's a good sign.
It is.
Yeah.
And the investor presentation,
Yeah.
it makes it very clear that this wasn't just, some random luck.
There's a reason behind it.
There's a reason their U.S. market is absolutely on fire.
The U.S. market. Okay, let's dig into that.
Yeah, let's dive into that success story.
All right, let's see what's fueling this growth.
Okay, so U.S. and North America segment,
Okay.
304.2 crores in revenue.
304.2 crores.
That's a 37% jump year on year.
37%.
And even more impressive is
it's better.
it gets better. 21% jump from just the previous quarter.
So they're not just growing, they're accelerating.
Exactly. They're gaining momentum.
That's fantastic.
It is. But the question is why?
Why such a strong performance?
What's driving it?
What's the secret sauce?
Well, the investor presentation tells us it's not just one thing.
Okay, a combination of factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've managed to increase their market share.
Taking it from competitors.
Yep.
Always a good sign.
Their new product launches have been really successful.
Hitting the mark with consumers.
They are.
Great.
And get this, they're seeing stable price erosion for their prescription products.
Stable price erosion. Now, that might sound a little weird
You know,
because usually price erosion is a bad thing.
it's not good.
But in the pharmaceutical world,
Yeah.
it's actually a positive sign.
So explain that.
So it means that prices are decreasing, but they're doing it at a manageable rate.
Okay.
It's not hurting their profitability.
Got it. So
Yeah.
they can still make money even though the prices are going down slightly.
Exactly. It's a sign of a healthy market.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not just about selling more, it's about selling smarter.
Right.
And you know what? Marksans expects this U.S. growth to continue.
Even better. They're projecting even stronger numbers in the coming quarters.
Now that's exciting.
That is exciting.
All right, so that's the U.S. story, but
Yeah.
as with any global business,
Right.
it's not all sunshine and roses everywhere.
It never is.
So let's zoom out a little bit
Okay.
and look at how they performed in other regions.
Right, a global perspective.
And the investor presentation,
Yep.
gives us kind of a mixed bag.
A mixed bag. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So the UK and Europe, for example,
Okay.
brought in 246.7 crores in revenue.
246.7 crores.
That's a 6% increase year on year.
6%? Not bad.
Not bad,
Wait.
but
There's a but.
but it's actually down 2% from the previous quarter.
Down 2%. So that's not the direction you want to be going?
Not really, no, but they do have an explanation for that.
Oh, okay.
So the investor presentation tells us that there was a delayed cough and cold season.
A delayed cough and cold season.
Yeah, and Marksans has a pretty strong presence in that cough and cold category.
Makes sense.
So if people aren't getting sick...
They're not buying the products. They're not buying the products.
Okay, so that explains the dip.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's just a temporary thing.
Yeah. All right, so what about down under?
Down under Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, Australia, New Zealand. How'd they do?
Okay, let's see.
So they clocked in at 63.6 crores in revenue.
63.6 crores, all right?
63.6 crores, right?
A 31% increase year on year.
31%. Now that's a healthy jump.
That is healthy.
But
again, a slight dip compared to the first quarter.
another dip. Okay, so is this another case of seasonality?
It seems to be.
Okay, so the investor presentation mentions that as well.
Yeah, they say it's likely due to seasonal factors.
Okay.
And they expect it to bounce back in the next quarter.
Okay, so a little bit of a blip, but nothing to be too concerned about.
No, all right. And then last but not least,
The rest of the world.
the rest of the world, or ROW as they like to call it,
Oh, okay.
brought in 27.5 crores.
27.5. All right.
Only a 1% increase year on year.
1%, not great,
Not great, but
but there's always a but.
there's a noteworthy 21% jump from the previous quarter. 21% now, that's impressive.
It is, and they're attributing that to
What's driving that growth?
favorable demand, they say, in key ROW markets.
So they're seeing some opportunities outside their main markets.
Exactly. So we've got this, global snapshot.
Yeah. Bit of a mixed bag.
Some areas are booming, some are facing headwinds.
It's the nature of a global business.
It is. But now let's shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
Instead of just reporting the numbers,
Right.
let's analyze what they tell us about Marksans' long-term plan.
Their game plan.
Their game plan, yeah. And
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah.
the investor presentation is our guide.
It's a roadmap.
It is. All right, so what are the key takeaways here?
Key takeaways. Okay.
What are we seeing?
So the first thing that jumps out at me is that Marksans is really betting big on the OTC market.
The over-the-counter market?
Yeah. And they have good reason to be bullish.
Yeah.
The investor presentation cites projections that the global OTC market is expected to reach a whopping $204 billion by 2025.
204 billion with a B.
With a B, that's a massive market.
That's a lot of cough syrup and pain relievers.
It is. And Marksans wants a bigger piece of that pie.
And how are they going to get it?
Okay, so their plan is twofold.
Okay, two-pronged approach.
First, they're aiming to double their U.S. store brand OTC revenue.
So think about when you go to the store
Yeah?
and you see those generic brands next to the big name brands,
The store brands.
the store brands. That's Marksans.
Okay, so they're going for volume and visibility.
Exactly.
Smart strategy.
It is, but it's not just about selling more. You
Right.
got to be able to make more.
Production capacity is key.
It is, and that brings us to their second strategic move,
Okay.
capacity expansion.
They're scaling up.
They recently acquired a manufacturing facility.
A whole facility.
A whole facility from Teva Pharma in India.
Teva Pharma, big player.
Big player. And the investor presentation tells us
Yeah.
that this acquisition is expected to double their Indian production capacity.
Wow, so they're going to be churning out those OTC products.
They're going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah. That's a smart move, anticipating that future growth.
They are. But capacity alone isn't enough.
You need products to fill those production lines.
You need products, and they've got that covered too.
Oh, they do?
Over 70 products in their pipeline.
70? That's a lot of R&D.
It is a testament to their commitment to research and development.
Absolutely essential for long-term growth.
And these include new launches planned across various markets.
So they're keeping their offerings fresh.
Fresh and competitive.
Very important in a fast-moving market.
It is. And then there's more.
There's more.
The investor presentation also hints at some potential acquisitions,
Acquisitions.
particularly in Europe.
Okay, so they're looking to expand their footprint even further.
They're not content to just sit back and ride the current wave.
They're actively looking for ways to grow.
They are. So they're looking to establish a stronger presence in Europe.
Makes sense.
All right, so we've got this big picture strategy,
The roadmap.
but now I want to dive into some of the finer details.
Oh.
The stuff that, might not make headlines, but still matters a lot to someone who really wants to understand how the business is performing.
The nitty-gritty.
The nitty-gritty.
Let's get into the number.
Okay, so for starters, their gross profit margin,
Gross profit margin.
which is basically the percentage of revenue they keep.
After deducting the cost of goods sold.
Exactly.
Okay.
Has seen a significant jump.
Oh, good.
So it's expanded to 59.7% in Q2 FY25
59.7%.
compared to 52.4% a year ago.
That's a big improvement.
It's a whopping 732 basis point improvement.
732 basis points.
Now, for those who aren't, financial wizards,
Right, let's break it down.
1 basis point is equal to 1/100th of a percentage point.
So 732 basis points is a significant increase.
It's a big deal
It means they're becoming more efficient.
at turning their sales into profit.
Exactly, squeezing more profit out of every dollar of revenue.
And the investor presentation tells us that this is due to softening raw material prices
Okay.
and a better product mix.
A better product mix, meaning
They're selling more of their higher margin products.
the products that make them more money.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's good for the bottom line.
It is. And speaking of bottom line,
Let's talk cash flow.
cash flow, yeah. So their cash flow from operations
Okay.
is a healthy 77.1 crores for the first half of FY25.
77.1 crores, that's a good number.
It indicates that they're effectively converting their profits into cash.
Cash is king.
Cash is king.
It gives them flexibility to invest and grow.
Exactly.
Very important.
All right. And then finally, let's look at their working capital cycle,
Working capital cycle.
which sits around 132 days for the first half of FY25.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not be familiar with that term,
Right.
what is working capital cycle?
Basically, it just tells us how efficiently they're managing their inventory and receivables.
So how quickly they're turning over their working capital.
Yeah, basically.
And a shorter cycle is generally a good thing, right?
It is.
It means they're not tying up too much cash in inventory or waiting too long to collect payments.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it seems like Marksans is firing on all cylinders.
They are strong revenue growth strategic acquisitions, a healthy product pipeline, and those financials are looking pretty good.
They are. They're definitely a company to watch.
Absolutely a company to keep an eye on.
But the story doesn't end there.
Oh, there's more.
There's more in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We're going to take an even closer look at their growth potential, their competitive landscape, and all the risks and opportunities that lie ahead.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Be with us.
Okay, so we've established that Marksans is on a roll,
Mm-hmm.
particularly in that U.S. market.
Yeah, they're definitely firing on all cylinders.
They've got a clear growth strategy.
Mm.
They're investing in capacity expansion,
Mm-hmm.
and their financials are looking pretty solid.
Yep.
But the big question is, can they keep this momentum going?
That's the million-dollar question.
Can they actually hit that ambitious target of reaching 3,000 crores in revenue?
Within the next 2 years?
Yeah, in the next 2 years.
The bold goal.
It is a bold goal.
Yeah. But when you look at the evidence, it's not entirely out of reach.
Right.
I mean, their investor presentation projects substantial growth in the U.S.
Which is already a huge market for them.
Exactly, a major cash cow.
Exactly. And they've got that new manufacturing facility coming online in India.
Right, which will significantly boost their production capacity.
They'll be able to pump out those OTC products like nobody's business.
It's a smart move.
It is. And let's not forget about their R&D pipeline.
Oh, yeah, over 70 new products just waiting to hit the market.
That's huge.
It is a powerful engine for future growth.
Assuming those products are successful.
Of course. That's always the caveat.
Right. Of course.
But if they are, that's a lot of potential revenue.
So they've got the capacity, the products, and the market seems to be on their side.
We do.
But here's where I get a little curious.
Okay.
The pharmaceutical market is a tough one.
Oh, it's notoriously competitive.
It is. Tons of players, big and small.
All vying for a slice of that pie.
So how does Marksans plan to stand out?
What's their secret sauce?
What makes them different?
That's a great question. And while the investor presentation doesn't give us all the answers,
Right.
it does offer some clues.
Okay.
Remember that stat about Marksans being one of the top 5 private label OTC companies in the U.S.?
Yeah, they're up there with the big boys.
They are.
Yeah.
That tells us they're playing in a league with some heavy hitters.
But instead of trying to outspend them on marketing or, go head-to-head with those brand name products,
Right.
they're taking a different approach.
Okay, so what are they doing?
They're focusing on being the preferred, low-cost manufacturing partner for major retailers.
So they're going for the behind-the-scenes approach,
Exactly. They want to be the reliable, cost-effective supplier.
the one that retailers can depend on.
Make sense?
It suggests a real focus on operational efficiency.
Keeping those costs down.
Exactly, which can be a powerful advantage in a price-sensitive market.
Absolutely. And if they can keep their costs down while maintaining quality,
Right.
they can offer retailers attractive pricing.
Which, in turn, could drive sales and market share.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
And let's not forget about their vertical integration strategy.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
They're moving into backward integration.
By manufacturing their own active pharmaceutical ingredients.
The APIs.
The APIs, yeah.
This will give them greater control over their supply chain.
And potentially boost those profit margins even further.
That's a smart move.
It is. They're not just relying on external factors. They're shaping their own destiny.
Okay, so we've talked about their strategy, their market position.
Uh-huh.
But let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the people.
The people behind the numbers.
The people. Because any company's success ultimately comes down to its leadership.
It does. The people at the helm.
Does Marksans have the right team in place to steer the ship?
Another great question. And the investor presentation actually gives us some insights into their leadership team.
Okay.
We get a glimpse into their backgrounds, their experience.
So what stood out to you? Anything that screams, these are the people to take Marksans to the next level?
Well, the founder and managing director, Mark Saldana, immediately caught my eye.
Okay.
He's got over 30 years of experience in the pharmaceutical industry.
Wow, that's a lot of experience.
It is. That kind of deep expertise
Yeah.
is invaluable.
Especially in a complex market like pharmaceuticals.
Exactly. He's seen it all, done it all.
That's reassuring.
It is. Experience definitely counts in this industry.
What about the rest of the team? Any other heavy hitters?
Well, they've definitely assembled a strong team.
Oh.
Dr. Sunny Sharma, for instance, is a non-executive director and senior managing director at OrbiMed Asia.
OrbiMed.
OrbiMed, yeah. They're a major player in the healthcare investment world.
Okay.
So having someone with Dr. Sharma's background on the board.
Signals a strong focus on financial strategy and growth.
Exactly. They're not just about making pills, they're about making smart financial decisions.
And it looks like they've also got a strong operational leader in place.
Oh, yeah. Who's
Vardman Jain, the whole-time director.
Oh, okay.
He's got 27 years of experience in manufacturing quality R&D regulatory affairs.
That's a crucial area for any pharmaceutical company.
It is. And having someone with that level of expertise is a huge asset.
Absolutely it is.
So we've got a seasoned leader at the helm, financial expertise on the board, and deep operational experience in the executive team.
They seem to have all the right ingredients.
They do. They've got a robust growth strategy, a strong balance sheet, a healthy product pipeline.
And a seasoned leadership team.
It seems like everything's coming up, Marksans.
And let's not forget the favorable market environment.
Right. The market seems to be on their side.
They've got a lot going for them.
They do, but
But,
we have to be realistic here.
of course.
The pharmaceutical industry is unpredictable.
Oh, yeah. Things can change quickly.
New regulations, unexpected competition, global events,
All sorts of curveballs.
anything could happen.
And let's not forget about those external factors we talked about earlier.
Like supply chain disruptions or,
Fluctuating raw material prices.
exactly. All that stuff can have a huge impact on a manufacturing business.
Especially in a globalized world.
Exactly.
Mm.
So while Marksans is well positioned for growth,
Right.
there are always risks.
There are always risks and uncertainties to consider.
So it's not a guaranteed slam dunk.
No investment ever is.
Right. There are challenges ahead.
Internal and external.
Yet it sounds like they've got a solid plan and a capable team.
They do. They seem well equipped to navigate those challenges.
So they're definitely a company to watch.
Absolutely. Keep an eye on them.
But it's not all sunshine and roses.
There are potential bumps in the road.
Yeah, in the last part of our deep dive,
Okay.
we're going to shift gears again.
Oh, interesting.
From the, financial and strategic aspects of Marksans Pharma
Okay.
to explore a different but equally important dimension,
What's that?
their commitment to sustainability.
Sustainability.
Yeah, because it's not just about profits anymore.
It's about doing business responsibly. Exactly.
Ethically and with an eye toward the future.
So stay with us as we uncover that sustainability side of Marksans Pharma in the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've spent the last two parts, really getting to know Marksans Pharma, their financials, their growth strategy, their leadership team. We've seen they're ambitious, they're making smart moves. But now I want to shift gears and talk about something that's becoming increasingly important to investors and consumers, sustainability.
Yeah, it's not just about profits anymore, right?
Right. People want to know that the companies they support are doing business responsibly, ethically, with an eye towards the future.
Absolutely. And thankfully, Marksans seems to get it. Their investor presentation lays out their approach to sustainability pretty clearly.
Okay, so what's their approach?
Well, they've identified three key pillars: environmental, social, and governance, or ESG for short.
ESG. Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's becoming the gold standard for measuring a company's sustainability performance.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is they're not just, paying lip service to this stuff. They've actually set specific goals for each of those pillars.
And they're tracking their progress.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. So let's break it down, starting with the environmental pillar.
Okay, the E in ESG.
Right. So what are they doing to reduce their impact on the planet?
Yeah, what are some of their initiatives?
Well, one of their key initiatives is reducing their carbon footprint.
Okay, makes sense.
They're doing this by optimizing their packaging. Using more recyclable materials, sourcing packaging from suppliers that are certified by the Forest Stewardship Council.
So they're really thinking about the whole life cycle of their products.
Exactly. Not just what happens within their own factories, but the entire supply chain.
That's a pretty holistic approach.
It is, and it's not just about what they're doing internally.
Oh, right.
They're also engaging with their suppliers and even their customers to adopt more sustainable practices.
So they're trying to create like a ripple effect.
Exactly. They realize they can have a much bigger impact by working collaboratively.
That's really cool. Okay, so that's the environmental side.
Yeah.
What about the social pillar, the S?
Right. How is Marksans giving back to the community?
What are they doing to make a positive social impact?
Their investor presentation highlights several initiatives that stood out to me.
Okay.
They're organizing free health checkup camps, distributing medicines to underprivileged communities, supporting education initiatives, and even promoting women's health and child development.
Wow, so they're really taking a broad approach.
They're addressing a wide range of social
It
needs.
sounds like they're genuinely invested in making a difference in the communities where they operate.
It's not just about writing a check, it's about getting involved, making a real impact.
I like that. And they've backed up their commitment with a concrete pledge.
Oh, yeah.
They've promised to allocate 2% of their net profit to these community development programs.
2%, that's a significant chunk of change.
It is, especially for a company that's so focused on growth.
It shows they're serious about their social responsibility.
Okay, so we've covered the environmental pillar, the social pillar. What about governance? The G.
Right. The G is all about ethical business practices, transparency, accountability.
Okay, so how does Marksans stack up in that area?
Well, they've made it very clear that ethical behavior is non-negotiable.
Good.
They've established a robust corporate governance framework
Okay.
with clear policies and procedures to ensure ethical conduct and compliance with all applicable laws and regulations.
So they're not cutting corners.
No, they're doing things by the book.
And it looks like they've also taken steps to ensure that their board of directors is providing proper oversight.
Yes, their board includes several independent members, which is important for objective decision-making.
So it's not just a rubber stamp for management.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's clear that Marksans Pharma is taking a proactive and comprehensive approach to sustainability. They've integrated those ESG principles into their core business strategy.
And they've set ambitious goals.
And they're actively tracking their progress.
They're walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
And that's what matters most.
Absolutely.
Well, there you have it. A deep dive into Marksans Pharma.
Yeah.
From their financials and growth strategy to their commitment to sustainability.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. We learned that they're a company on the move.
Driven by ambitious growth targets and a focus on operational excellence.
But they're also mindful of their responsibilities to the environment, their employees, the communities they operate in.
It's a well-rounded approach.
It is. And we hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of Marksans Pharma and, equipped you to make more informed decisions as an investor or a consumer.
Absolutely. But remember, the learning doesn't stop here.
Right. Keep digging. Do your own research.
Explore Marksans Pharma's story, form your own conclusions.
Because that's what the deep dive is all about, empowering you to be more informed and engaged with the world around you.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, everyone. Until next time, happy learning.